Protests erupted in Paris on Wednesday night against a controversial gala organized by Israel's far right. The event, held in a secret location, intended to raise money for Israel. It advertised guests such as the Israeli finance minister Bezalel Smotrich, known for his extreme positions on Gaza, who ended up canceling his trip to Paris. The demonstration was organized by multiple pro-Palestinian groups and the hard-left France Unbowed Party.
C'est suite au gala de Israel Forever, moi je dirais plutôt Aurore Israël, car on invite des gens qui ont tenu des propos qui incitent à la haine raciale et au-delà de ça, qui déshumanisent, c'est-à-dire pour parler concrètement, c'est-à-dire qui comparent des Palestiniens à des animaux.
French authorities refused to cancel the event, claiming it posed no major threat to public order, further angering protesters and some left-wing politicians.
C'est une véritable colère, parce qu'on a des gens qui, encore une fois, ici, au chaud, dans un salon doré, vont lever de l'argent qui va alimenter demain l'armée israélienne qui va massacrer des enfants en Palestine. C'est absolument inacceptable.
Although the demonstration was relatively peaceful, a few stores such as McDonald's and Carrefour were vandalized. Tensions are at an all-time high as the gala was coincidentally held on the eve of a football match between Israel and France. Some are worried the game could lead to major clashes.
De voir qu'il y a autant de forces de l'ordre pour cet événement, ça me fait un peu peur pour la tenue non violente des mobilisations qui vont se jouer contre.
A total of 4,000 police officers will be mobilized for the football game on Thursday evening in Paris. That's one police officer for every 5 attendees, a highly unusual number for such a sporting event.
The European Parliament debated the future of EU-US relations under the new Trump administration, considering how to address challenges as the EU seeks stable transatlantic relations.
Il popolo americano ha parlato e come
poner impuestos de aduanas del 60% a todos los productos chinos. Esto en un mercado globalizado también nos afectaría a nosotros, porque los productos chinos que no irían a Estados Unidos podrían venir a Europa. Habla también de expulsar masivamente a inmigrantes, lo cual, aparte de las cuestiones morales y humanas, tendría también un efecto inflacionario.
The US is Europe's most long-standing ally and its main security provider, with leaders across the political spectrum agreeing dialogue is paramount to survive Trump's America First mindset.
The future of the European Commission is in limbo. The 6 designated vice presidents were grilled on Tuesday by MEPs at the European Parliament. But instead of wrapping up the decision on the 6 most important members of Ursula von der Leyen's team, the process is dragging on.
So it seems that the biggest political groups in the parliament made some kind of deal beforehand that, everybody should pass in order to bring the commission into office as quick as possible. But, this deal among the political groups seems to be broken now. There was a decision expected yesterday already, then today, and now it was postponed to next week. And so we don't know really when the decision will be made and what the outcome will be, if indeed, as originally planned, all commissioners will pass through or not.
Everybody is against everybody right now. The European Popular Party didn't want to give its green light to Spanish socialist Teresa Rivera after the floods in Valencia. The socialists strongly criticized this stance, claiming that Rivera is used as a scapegoat. This could create a domino effect. If Rivera falls, it could mean that Italy's ultra-conservative Raffaele Fitto could also fall, something that EPP is strongly rejecting. As the analysts explain, the role of EPP is very strong.
Parliament works with majorities. You need 50% plus one for decisions to pass. And the EPP, together with all the parties that sit to the right of them, have a majority. But also the EPP can build majorities to its left, together with the Social Democrats and the Liberals, as happened in the last term most of the times. So basically, the EPP is the kingmaker. It can go to the left and it can go to the right to make majorities. So that makes it very powerful at the moment, and also in all decisions concerned of the hearings, when it comes to the organization of the hearings, but also when it comes now to the decisions which candidates pass and which not, the EPP has a very prominent role.
Time is of the essence for the EU Commission, which needs to be ready before Donald Trump takes office in the US.
Police deployed water cannons at demonstrators after hundreds gathered in Brussels to protest the arrival of French far-right politician Jordan Bardella. Local media reports that around 300 protesters organised by left-wing groups and from Belgian universities were met by police as they demonstrated against the arrival of the chairman of France's far-right National Rally Party. Bardella arrived in Belgium to present his recently published memoir. Storms in Spain's southern province of Malaga caused school closures and train cancellations. 2 weeks after flash floods in Valencia and other parts of the country killed more than 220 people and destroyed thousands of homes. Streets in the area were flooded as thousands were moved from their houses as a preventative measure. There were no reports of any deaths. Experts say that drought and flood cycles are increasing with climate change. In response to the devastating floods in Spain, the European Parliament debated measures to strengthen the EU's resilience to extreme weather events and provide support to those impacted by the disaster. The debate focused on enhancing the EU's crisis response, particularly in regions increasingly vulnerable to climate-driven events.
European farmers took to streets in Brussels to protest against the free trade agreement between the European Union and Mercosur. Signed in 2019, this free trade agreement between the EU and 5 Latin American countries that has never been implemented could finally get a green light next week at the G20 summit in Brazil. Protesters believe that its adoption would create unfair competition for European agriculture.
L'accord EU-Mercosur, il est très défavorable pour l'Europe. Il sera peut-être favorable pour vendre des voitures, mais très défavorable au niveau agricole. Et ça va encore tuer les petits producteurs parce que ça va tirer les prix vers le bas. Et en plus, on va importer de la viande de bœuf, par exemple, c'est qu'on produit chez nous.
Opponents of the agreement also fear social, health and environmental consequences, such as increased deforestation for livestock farming.
C'est aussi une folie sanitaire. 30% des pesticides qui sont autorisés au sein des États du Mercosur sont interdits dans l'Union européenne. Ils vont quand même entrer sur le marché européen. Et enfin, c'est évidemment une folie climatique. Pourquoi aller chercher à l'autre bout du monde ce qu'on sait et ce qu'on peut produire ici dans l'Union européenne?
This agreement aims to increase trade in goods and services between the EU and Latin American economies through the gradual removal of trade barriers and tariffs, and the standardization of conditions and regulations.
Et on ouvrirait le plus grand marché, plus de 700 millions de personnes, dans lesquelles nos entreprises, même nos agriculteurs, nos fournisseurs de services auraient des opportunités. Il faut penser à ça, c'est que vu le contexte géopolitique actuel avec l'invasion de Poutine en Ukraine, avec les Chinois qui veulent tous les marchés, avec les élections américaines qui viennent d'avoir lieu, il faut qu'on pense à diversifier un petit peu nos partenaires.
Member states have been fighting over this for 25 years. While Germany, Spain and Italy campaign in favor, France, Poland and Austria are directly opposed to it.
Nobody believes Crimea will ever go back to Ukraine as part of any final resolution to the war there, says former President of the European Commission, Manuel Barroso. Mr. Barroso led the European Commission from 2004 to 2014, the period when Putin first began his territorial incursions into Georgia and Ukraine. Speaking exclusively to Euronews, he says there was a feeling amongst member states that Crimea was a special case. And many countries rejected the ideas of strong sanctions for Putin following the annexation.
What do you think of the period, I suppose? I mean, do you think that the warnings weren't taken seriously? Was there a belief that in 2014 maybe we shouldn't escalate by applying such extreme sanctions against Russia for Crimea?
It's very easy today to say what should have happened afterwards, because we did not at that time had the information. We have to see what was possible at that time. The reality is that the governments were not ready to go further. That is the reality. The Commission will be ready to go further. But the governments were not ready to go further because of their own interests, and probably because they thought, and that's instinct, that what I'm going to say now, it's delicate, but I'm going to say it. Because at least in the back of our minds, or the minds of the European governments, was the idea that Crimea is a special case. That's why today, honestly, nobody believes that Ukraine is going to get back Crimea. That's the reality.
And what should we do now?
We should support Ukraine. And whatever happens with our American friends, we should support Ukraine. Because if not, it's not only going to be a tragedy for Ukraine, it's a very important country, but it's a tragedy for Europe. And it's going to be the best possible offer we give to the movements against democracy, against international law, against also our own values. If Russia and others that are now supporting Russia continue to say all over the world, including in the so-called global south, that Europe and the West, they are gone, they are decadent, they no longer count, democracy is completely corrupt ideology.
And the rest of the interview will be broadcast on Euronews' Europe Conversation next Thursday.